Good evening and welcome to the 2018 U.S. Open. Tonight, I'm your host, Jason Goodall, and we're going to be looking at some of the best tennis players around the world. Let's take a look at the starting lineup, shall we? First, we're going to serve it up with the basics of tennis, where then we will volley over to the origins of tennis, and next, we will swing at table tennis, or finally, we'll spike it over with the pros. Believe it or not, but tennis is more than just a sport involving obnoxious grunts and funny faces. Let's start with the basics. Tennis is a sport which is played on a rectangular shaped court with the net in the middle separating two players. The two players continue to hit the ball back and forth with rackets until one is unable to return the point. In doing so, you earn a point. Now, you'd assume it's 1-0, right? Well, this is not the case. Tennis is an oddly scored game as opposed to any other sport out there. So let's look at a cheat sheet. When scoring in tennis, you start with love instead of 0. And then after that, it's scored in increments of 15, 30, 40, game. So in simple, it's 4 points. Many believe it's like this because it was scored on a clock face back in the day. According to tennistips.org, it originated from French, ancient France. Let's look at an example. First, you must score 4 points, and in doing so, you earn what's known as a game. Win 6 games to earn a set. So 6 games, 4 points each, 24 points. Depending on the level of play, the number of sets played will determine who wins. Professionals, for example, will play for 3 sets, whereas high schoolers will only play for 1. Let's volley over to the origins. Many believe tennis originated from ancient Egypt, but we now have enough evidence to say elsewhere. Tennis originated in 1873 from a man named Walter Wingfield. Wingfield was a British Army officer who decided to take the game under his belt after learning about an ancient one played by monks. The sport was originally played with hands instead of rackets, and he decided to change this for the better. The sport also used to be referred to as lawn tennis instead of tennis, but over the years it's changed because of the different courts played on, such as clay, concrete, and grass. Let's swing at table tennis. Table tennis, never mind. Most tennis players were under the impression that tennis cannot only be played on certain occasions, such as nice weather and a designated court. So they didn't want to take a break during the winter, and they invented a sport called table tennis. The origin of table tennis came from a parlor game played by elites, which was originally played with cigar lids. And then they used books as nets. Since then, the game has been much more modernized, and they've been playing with rubber paddles to put a spin on the ball. It's even gained so much popularity that it's introduced into the Olympics of 1988. Let's spike it over with the pros. Tennis is a sport unlike any other in that it's played internationally as opposed to within its own nation. The Association of Tennis Professionals is the league in which all the hotshots play. It's the NBA of tennis. The 4 biggest tournaments put on each year are referred to as the Grand Slams. They're held annually in Australia, Paris, London, and New York City. The most significant of these 4 being Wimbledon, because it's been held annually since 1877. Enough talk about the events. Let's go to the players. Most modern tennis players are so close in skill that it's hard to determine who's actually the best. But we now have enough point systems to declare who is considered best. Rafael Nadal, currently ranked number 1 tennis player in the world, is considered to be called the King of Clay, a Spanish player who is considered the best clay court player in history. Another name you might recognize, Roger Federer. Federer is considered arguably the best tennis player in history, with his 93 total titles and 19 Grand Slams. On top of this, he also holds the record for holding the highest ranked position most consistently for 2004 to 2008. On top of this, he has his own program which donates clothes to those in need in countries in need. Finally, our last player hits closer to home as she's from Saginaw, Michigan. The one, the only, Serena Williams. Serena is considered arguably the best women's tennis player in history, with her world record of 23 Grand Slams. Not to mention, she also won the Australian Grand Slam last year while 8 weeks pregnant. Due to her pregnancy, she was forced to drop out, but she managed to finish 22nd overall, which is still a significant task. It seems we're boiling down to the last match, so let's do a recap. First, we served it up with the basics of tennis. We then volleyed over to the origins. We swung at table tennis. And finally, we spiked it over with the pros. All right, we're going down to the match point, so let's be quiet. Reed Willadsen with the ace. There you have it, folks. Reed is the 2018 U.S. Open champion. Thank you for coming out tonight, and we hope to see you again next year.